Hello, people of YouTube. This is Financially Ruined. I'm your host, Steve Gray. Thank you for watching. We're on the subject of pets again, and private equity, vet clinics, all that fun stuff. And why I think that we are going into a petless future. I don't know if it's going to be 30 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, but the direction that we're going right now is becoming a petless future because it's just getting too expensive for your wallets. It really is. So let's say you have a cat or dog, the two most traditional of pets. And, 5 years down the road, unfortunately, your animal has some sort of tumor that needs to be removed. You go to the vet and they say $10,000. They just give you a flat bill, $10,000. I don't know. We'll say maybe your insurance covers some of it. It doesn't cover all of it if you have pet insurance. Seems like that's becoming more of a necessity as well if you have a pet this day and age. But that's kind of the point, is that the majority of veterinarian clinics now are owned by private equity, so some sort of big giant corporation owns them to invest in them, and the only thing they care about is making money. And they know that you are extremely emotionally attached to your pet, as we all are. Most people are. And they are going to use that to get you to spend every single penny you have fixing that, doing unnecessary tests, buying all this crazy specialty food, doing all of these treatments, so on and so forth. And it is just becoming a massive hassle. The price of everything has skyrocketed. I feel like tumors, they're probably making the food at a crappier quality, so the tumor rates are unfortunately going up, especially if you're giving your animal people food. That's just what's happening. And ultimately, it's getting to the point where, it costs less money to get a new cat or dog than it does to do the surgery. And it sucks. And I don't want you to feel bad about it. Because there is a certain point where, your cat or dog, and you don't have the money. The cat or dog is living a decent life, maybe you shoot it with some steroids once in a while to make sure that they're comfortable. But they're going to be living a better life with you than anywhere else, ultimately. So it sucks that they may have to go early. It's not a decision you take lightly. If it's something where you have the money, great, good for you. Your insurance fully covers it, great, good for you. But not everybody is in that situation when it comes to owning a pet. And it sucks. Personally, if I took a dog or my cat that I currently have to the vet, and they said it's going to cost $10,000 for this surgery, and there's a good chance he might not come off the table, we can give him some steroids that'll make him comfortable for a couple of years. Probably do the later of the option, is go the steroid route where he's just comfortable for a couple of years, and then if he passes away. It's sad. It is. It sucks. But it's getting to a point where everything is just so ridiculously expensive in terms of treatments that it is no longer cost effective, especially if you're hurting for money, to have a pet. A lot of things are going to, apartment complexes as well. So in terms of housing right now, a lot of people, a lot of millennials, a lot of Gen Z can't afford a house. May one day, I hope. I'm in that boat right now. I've been looking for a while for something in my price range, but can't afford a house, which is like 400 grand right now. But in my area, I can, it's not the best area, so I can get something cheaper, luckily. But not that it's going to be good, but a house is a house. But ultimately, with that, is a lot of these apartments and landlord owners and corporations that own apartment complexes, they either charge you extra for having an animal, no matter how well behaved they are. I know some animals that are more well behaved than children. I believe you as a pet owner. I know my cat is more well behaved than most toddlers. Or they just flat out don't accept pets. So it's like, okay, let's just assume your rent's $1,000 a month. Oh, guess what? We're going to add $300 a month for a pet fee, and then in addition to the deposit that you needed, we now need an additional $1,000 because you have a pet. And then a lot of people can't afford that, so they just get rid of the pet. And that's, you don't want to get rid of the pet. It sucks. A pet is a lifetime commitment. You're dedicated to that pet. I understand people die, stuff happens. But in terms of that, you got the dog, you got the cat. That cat is going to be with you for the rest of your life. The rest of their life, I should say, rather. And that's just where it is. So it is just a crappy situation. You can't afford procedures. Insurance is bleeding you dry because you're probably paying a couple hundred months for pet insurance. And as all insurance companies know, statistically, you're not going to use it. You're just going to keep paying for it. Same thing with car insurance. It's nice to have. Same with medical insurance, but a lot of people don't even need it. And then, but the thing is, if you don't have it and you do need it, then you get screwed. That is ultimately the problem with a lot of insurance companies, because everything keeps going up, and good, you had it, tumor's taken care of. You don't have to pay. You only got to pay $500 deductible. You don't have to pay the $10,000 for the procedure. But then you get somebody that's like, yeah, I don't need pet insurance. And ultimately, the pet is going to live a better life with you than they are if they were stuck in a shelter for their entire life and died in a shelter with no one to love them. So keep that in mind too. You got to figure out where the cost is. I understand you love the pet, you love the dog, the cat, whatever pet you have, but when you're broke and have no money, you get a goldfish. Get a goldfish, get a betta fish, something along those lines. Maybe a lizard. I think snakes are pretty good in terms of health for the most part. Find animals that are massively low maintenance, and it's a fish. It's a snake. Do with that as you will. I'm sure you'll love the fish and the snake equally as the dog and the cat if you're an animal lover. But at the same time, less maintenance, less food costs. Clean the filter in your fish tank, clean out the enclosure in the snake tank, so on and so forth. And it's just getting to a point where they're pricing us out of the market. If you want like an actual, if you're not, I'm thinking shelter pets. I always have shelter pets. I'm thinking if you actually go and buy one of these purebred animals that are probably going to have a crap ton of health problems anyway, you spend $1,000 on a dog and then it gets a tumor, you got to pay $10,000 to fix the thing, and then your landlord says, oh, well, we don't do pets. So do your best to find a non-private equity veterinarian clinic, if you can. If there's one locally in your area, if there's just some mom and pop one, go to that one. I can guarantee it'll be significantly cheaper to do it. My cat, for instance, right now, they're saying, oh, there's a little bit of tartar on his teeth, a little bit of inflammation around his gums. He's still eating fine, he's drinking fine and everything. So they're like, oh, if you want to do a cleaning procedure, it's going to cost like $2,000. And, he's an 8-year-old cat. There is a chance that if they knock him out, he's not getting back up. So I'm not taking that chance. I don't want to spend $2,000 for a teeth cleaning. So I got a little toothbrush for him. I got some toothpaste for him. And I try my best to brush his teeth. And ultimately, he's still going to live a better life with me than if he was in the shelter for his entire life. So that's where we're doing it. He hates it. It is an interesting process trying to brush a cat's teeth. But I'm trying it. It's better than the alternate. Better than, oh, okay, I tried to get his teeth cleaned. I paid $2,000 and now I just find out my cat died. I don't want to learn that. At a certain point, it is not worth it to put any animal under anesthesia. When they hit a certain age, there's a good chance they're not coming back from the anesthesia. You just don't know. And then you're grieving, and now you have a huge bill. You lost your animal, and now you have this massive bill that you probably put on a credit card, and you can't afford it, and then it's probably 30% interest, and it just keeps building up over and over and over again, and it's just this looming debt that never goes away. So you got to know your expenses. You got to know your expenses with pets. Private equity is just ridiculous. I really hope it all goes away, but it seems like everything is going to private equity. And somehow they bet that the company is going to fail and still make money. And that's what's going to happen, is it's going to be way too expensive. The quality is going to go down of the veterinarian clinics. No one's going to go there anymore. They're all going to go out of business. And then maybe we'll get some mom and pops back. But, it's kind of like you got to go back in the old days. I think my dad brought my dog to some random guy. He did shots once a month. Once a month was rabies, tetanus, Lyme, all these different shots. And he had it, once a month he would just go, $50, you're done. He checks them out. Okay, everything's good to go. Dogs also used to only get table scraps, not specified dog food. They got meat, actual meat, chicken bones, chicken steak, things along those lines. But That's the problem, though, is it's expensive. You can't be giving your dog a steak every night because you don't probably have the money. So that's why you go buy the cheap, crappy pet food, and then eventually the cheap, crappy pet food gives them a tumor. And it's just a very crappy, vicious cycle. Do your research on food. There's some foods are better than others. Science Diet, I think, is a good one. That's what I've been feeding my cat forever. But maybe that was a mind-brain thing for me, because he only likes the cheap canned food. He gets the 98-cent can Friskies or whatever the heck it is. He'll only eat that. That's the only canned food I can get him to get. And you have to give him wet food because of hydration. If you only give them dry food, they're always dehydrated all the time because they don't drink enough water. Oh my God, cats. The maintenance on cats sometimes. He's so picky. He's so picky. I wish he was in my room right now to show you. But he's just a picky little guy. And it does. They tug at your heartstrings. It's too expensive. And I think everybody's just going to give up. They're going to be like, you know what? I'm not going through this again. I'm not paying $10,000 again when my dog inevitably gets a tumor and has to get operated on. So I'm just not having a pet anymore. And I don't know what that's going to mean for cats and dogs in the future. I really don't know. Is there going to be less of them? It's going to probably be a rich people only thing. 9 out of 10, owning a cat and dog is going to be like the equivalent of Mike Tyson owning a tiger or something. I got that from Hangover. I don't think he actually owns a tiger, but he might. I don't know what he does with his money. But that's where we're at. It's just, it sucks. I'm angry about it because after this, if I get my own house with a cat, I don't know if I'm going to end up having another. I'd love to have a pet. I've always had a pet my entire life, but if it just costs too much, I can't do it because I'm gonna get emotional like I'm getting emotional right now, and if heaven forbid anything happens to that friggin' cat or dog, I'm gonna dump all my money into it without thinking about it, and it's gonna financially ruin me, like the channel says, and that's just where we're at, and it aggravates me, it makes me angry, and I just got to keep trying to make more money. That's where we're at. I got annoyed because I thought I was going to be able to take a test to get a promotion. Now they're saying I don't qualify for the test, which aggravates the crap out of me too. So I'm kind of stuck where I am. I should be getting a raise, a decent sized raise, not a huge raise, but an okay one soon. But got to keep looking for more money because the more money you get, then you can afford to have some nicer things, have a nice pet in your life. So that's where I think I'm going to end it. But subscribe, notification bell, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Hopefully my camera will be back in its normal position next week. I finally got my guitar amps back, and I kind of use them as a tripod. Till next time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.